Tonight, I'm opening files related to a single, powerful idea, that the most lucrative opportunities are often the ones we overlook. The ones we dismiss as too boring, too simple, or too saturated to be worth our time. These accounts are not theory, not guesses, they are real stories from my own journey, documented, raw, and practical. What you're about to hear is a walkthrough of the exact steps I took, the mistakes I made, and the lessons I learned while building what I once called boring businesses. Businesses that don't require a flashy app, a viral TikTok, or a million followers. Businesses that quietly, consistently, generate serious income, $20,000 a month, and beyond. We're going to look under the hood of 5 specific case files. We'll start from the very first, hesitant click, through the months of radio silence, to the moment the first payment cleared. And then, how it scaled. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed to Profit with A and hit the notification bell. What we uncover here could be the blueprint for your own hustle, and you won't want to miss what comes next. This isn't about get-rich-quick schemes. This is about get-rich-for-sure systems. And it all starts now. Let's begin with the first file. The one that taught me everything about the power of a simple, unsexy service. This is File Profit 701. File Profit 701, the $29 data entry gig that broke the ice. It was the fall of 2018. I was sitting on the floor of my studio apartment, my back against a wall because I couldn't even afford a proper chair. My office was an old laptop that whirred like a jet engine and overheated if I had more than 3 browser tabs open. I'd scroll through job listings, see the requirements for degrees and years of experience I didn't have, and just feel this heavy weight of impossibility. I wasn't looking for a fortune. I was just looking for proof that I could make a single dollar online. The inciting incident wasn't dramatic. It was a Tuesday. I was on a freelance platform, probably Fiverr or a similar site, and I saw it. A gig, posted by a small business owner, that simply read, "Need someone to copy data from 100 PDFs into an Excel spreadsheet. $29. That was it. No special skills required, just patience and a willingness to do a tedious, boring task. I remember my finger hovering over the mouse. A voice in my head said, "This is it. This is your big breakthrough. Copying and pasting." But another voice, a quieter, more stubborn one, said, "What if it is?" I took a breath, and I submitted my proposal. It was one sentence: "I can have this completed for you within 24 hours. The first 24 hours passed. Nothing. 48 hours. Radio silence. The self-doubt was deafening. I thought, I can't even get a $29 data entry job. I must have refreshed my email 100 times. But then, on the 3rd day, a notification. Not a sale, but a message. The client had questions. My heart jumped into my throat. They asked about my accuracy, my turnaround time. I responded professionally, but my hands were shaking. This was it. The first real interaction. After a brief back and forth, they sent the offer. I accepted. And then the real work began. For the next 6 hours, I did nothing but copy and paste. Names, addresses, numbers. My back ached, my eyes burned, and the fan on my laptop was a constant roar. It was mind-numbing. But it was also the most focused I had been in months. I submitted the Excel file. I attached a note, "Thank you for the opportunity. All data has been double-checked for accuracy." An hour later, another notification. The client had left a review. 5 stars. And the comment read, "Excellent work, incredibly fast and accurate. We'll hire again." That was the moment. The $29 hit my account a week later, and it felt like $1 million. The money was a relief, sure. But the real win was that review. It was social proof. It was a crack in the dam. That one $29 gig led to another from the same client. Then, with that 5-star rating on my profile, I started getting more inbound requests. I didn't get rich from data entry. I probably never made more than a few $100s a month from it. But it taught me the foundational lesson of everything that followed: the market doesn't pay for what's fun, it pays for what's necessary. Someone's boredom is another person's business model. That boring task was a critical problem for the business owner, and I provided a simple, reliable solution. At Profit with A, we classify this as an icebreaker file, not for the revenue generated, but for the psychological barrier it shattered. It was proof that a door, any door, could be opened. But data entry was just the beginning. It showed me there was a demand for simple, tedious services. And that realization made me look around at other boring tasks people hated doing. Which is what led me directly to the next file, and a business that seemed so simple, most people would never even consider it. File Profit 819, the laundry service that washed away my doubts. A year later, in 2019, I had a little more confidence, a slightly better laptop, and an appetite to build something that was truly mine, not just a gig on a platform. I was living in an apartment building with about 50 units. Every Sunday, without fail, the laundry room was a war zone. People were stressed, arguing over machines, lugging heavy baskets up and down the stairs. I saw the same problem, week after week. And one Sunday, staring at my own pile of dirty clothes, the idea clicked. I didn't rent a storefront or buy a van. My first step was cheaper and scarier. I designed a simple, clean flyer on Canva. The headline was, "Reclaim Your Sundays. We do your laundry." I listed my service: pickup, wash, dry, fold, and delivery. I priced it at $1.50 per pound, with a £20 minimum. My heart was pounding as I printed 50 copies. I walked up and down every floor of my building, slipping them under doors. I was convinced I'd be seen as a joke, or worse, get in trouble with the building manager. For 2 days, nothing. The silence was agonizing. Then, my personal phone buzzed. An unknown number. A neighbor from the 4th floor, an older gentleman who worked long hours, asked, "Is this for real?" I assured him it was. My first client. I remember knocking on his door, my hands sweating. He handed me a massive bag of laundry. It must have been 30 pounds. I took it back to my apartment, and my tiny washing machine, and I got to work. My entire apartment became a laundry facility. The hum of the machines was the soundtrack to my hustle for that entire day. The struggle wasn't the work, it was the logistics. Scheduling pickups, managing different detergents for people with sensitive skin, the sheer physical effort of hauling heavy, wet clothes. I made mistakes. I once mixed up 2 clients' loads and had to rewash everything at my own expense. The turning point came about a month in. That first client, the man from the 4th floor, not only became a weekly regular, but he told 3 of his friends in the building. Then, one of them told 2 more. I went from 1 client to 6, almost overnight, purely through word of mouth. The ping was no longer from a freelance platform, it was the buzz of my phone with a new text message that read, "Are you available for a pickup this week?" I looked at my calendar, now filled with appointments, and realized I had built a real, functioning, local business from a stack of paper flyers. Within 3 months, I was doing laundry for 15 regular clients. I was generating over $900 a month in revenue, all in cash, working mostly on weekends. The reality was physically demanding, but the profit margins were high since my only overhead was detergent, electricity, and my time. I eventually had to stop because I scaled into other ventures you'll hear about later, but the lesson was indelible: solve a recurring, inconvenient problem in your immediate environment, and people will happily pay you to make it go away. It's a timeless business principle. At Profit with A, we classify this as a local leverage file. It demonstrated that you don't need to look far for opportunity. A profitable business can be built by solving the mundane problems happening right outside your front door. The laundry service taught me the power of a local, service-based model. But my curiosity was pulling me online, towards a different kind of boring business. One that wasn't about physical tasks, but about navigating the dense, complex world of government paperwork. A business that, to most, sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry. File Profit 936, the LLC formation service no one wanted to advertise. Early 2020. The world was turning inward, and suddenly, everyone and their cousin was talking about starting an online business. I was in online forums and subreddits for entrepreneurs, and I saw the same question, over and over again, phrased with a mix of excitement and sheer panic: how do I actually form an LLC? People were confused by state websites, intimidated by legal language, and terrified of making a mistake that would cost them later. They had the big idea, but they were tripping over the first bureaucratic hurdle. I had been through the process myself. It was tedious, but not actually difficult. The inciting incident was a direct message I received from someone in one of those forums. They said, "You seem to know about this stuff. I'll pay you $100 to just walk me through it on a Zoom call so I don't mess it up." I didn't do the call, but a light bulb went off. The problem wasn't knowledge, it was confidence. My first step was to create a simple, no-frills service on my own nascent website. I called it Stress-Free LLC Formation. For a flat fee of $150, plus the state filing fees, I would handle the entire process for the client, preparing the articles of organization, filing them with the state, setting up their registered agent service for the first year, and giving them a step-by-step guide for what to do next. I wasn't a lawyer, and I was very clear about that. I was a facilitator. The silence after launching this service was the loudest yet. Who would trust a random person on the internet with their sensitive business formation details? The first few weeks, I got nothing but crickets. I spent my time refining the process, creating templates, and building a simple FAQ to preempt questions. The struggle was against perceived illegitimacy. Then, I got my first client. A freelance graphic designer who was just overwhelmed. The entire process was conducted via email, and I remember the anxiety of submitting their paperwork to the state. What if I did mess it up? What if the payment failed? I checked the state's business database obsessively for days. The learning curve was all about building trust and demonstrating relentless organization. The reveal wasn't a single moment, but a slow, dawning realization. The state website updated. Active. The LLC was officially formed. I compiled the entire welcome packet for my client, the state confirmation, the EIN information, the operating agreement template, and sent it over. Their response was pure elation. "Oh my God, thank you. I've been putting this off for 6 months. You just made this so easy." That was the win. The $150 was nice, but the feedback was the fuel. That client referred 2 others within the month. I had become a guide through a confusing bureaucratic maze. This business scaled quietly but steadily. I wasn't competing with the big guys like LegalZoom on price. I was competing on personal touch and simplicity. At its peak, this service was bringing in 8 to 10 clients a month. That's $1,200 to $1,500 in almost pure profit, minus some small overhead. The reality was that it was a template-based, systematized business. Once I had the process down, each new client took me less than an hour of actual work. The lesson was profound. You can build a business by becoming the bridge between complexity and convenience. People will pay a premium to hand off a task they find confusing or frightening. At Profit with A, we classify this as a clarity file. The value wasn't in the physical labor, but in the mental load I lifted for my clients. I sold clarity, and the paperwork was just the delivery mechanism. LLC formation taught me to monetize clarity. But it also exposed me to a world of small business owners who were now officially launched but completely lost when it came to the next step, getting seen online. Which leads us to the 4th file, a business that thrives in the background of the internet, completely invisible to the average user. File Profit 112, the local SEO service for the unsexy trades. Mid-2020. Through my LLC service, I was talking to newly minted business owners, plumbers, electricians, landscapers, local bakery owners. These were people who were brilliant at their craft but utterly bewildered by the internet. They'd show me their websites, if they had one, and they were often a single, sad page from 2005. They'd say things like, "I know I need to be on Google, but I don't know where to start." They weren't trying to go viral, they just wanted the phone to ring when someone in their town searched for "plumber near me." The inciting incident was a conversation with a local plumber, let's call him Bob. Bob had a great reputation but zero online presence. I offered him a deal. Let me set up and manage your Google My Business profile for 3 months. If you get more calls from it, you pay me $300. If you don't, you pay me nothing. It was a risk, but I was confident. My first step was the tedious work of digital housekeeping, claiming and verifying his business listing, uploading high-quality photos of his work, crafting a compelling business description with relevant keywords, and setting up a simple process for him to collect customer reviews. The first month was slow. Bob got maybe 1 or 2 calls from the listing. The struggle was on 2 fronts, managing my own impatience, and educating Bob. He didn't understand why I needed him to ask his customers for reviews. He was old school, a handshake was his review. I had to patiently explain that in 2020, a handshake doesn't show up on a Google search. It was a battle of analog versus digital mindsets. I spent hours researching local SEO strategies, learning about citation building on directories like Yelp and Angie's List, and understanding the importance of NAP consistency, name, address, phone number, across the web. It was deeply boring work. But it was a system. About 10 weeks in, Bob called me. His voice was different. Not just happy, but stunned. He said, "I just had to turn down a job because I'm booked solid for 2 weeks. A lady said she found me because I was the plumber with all the good reviews on Google. I didn't believe this would work. That was the turning point. He not only paid the $300, he immediately signed up for my ongoing monthly management service for another $150 a month. The win was tangible. I had directly connected my digital work to a real-world result for a real business. Bob became my walking, talking billboard. He told his friends in the trades, the electrician, the landscaper, the HVAC guy. Within 6 months, I had 12 local tradespeople on a monthly retainer of $150 to $300 each. That's over $2,500 a month in recurring revenue for work that was almost entirely systematized. I used the same templates and processes for each client. The lesson was crystal clear: there is a massive, underserved market of skilled tradespeople who are desperate for digital help but don't need, and can't afford, a fancy marketing agency. They need a simple, reliable system to make Google work for them. At Profit with A, we classify this as a back-end engine file, a business that powers other businesses from the shadows, generating reliable, recurring revenue by solving a critical, ongoing need. Local SEO showed me the power of a subscription model. But all these businesses, data entry, laundry, LLCs, SEO, were services. They all traded my time for money. I started to become obsessed with a new question: was it possible to build a boring business that was more product than service? One that could scale without my direct, hourly involvement. The final file I'll open tonight is the answer to that question. It's the one that truly broke the ceiling. File Profit 255, the niche print-on-demand store for a hobby no one understood. Late 2021. I had revenue coming in, but I was also stretched thin. My time was the ultimate bottleneck. I was trading hours for dollars, and there's a hard cap on that. I was exploring passive income ideas, and everyone was screaming about print-on-demand. But they were all chasing the same viral t-shirt trends, funny cat quotes, generic motivational slogans. It was a noisy, crowded arena. I wasn't interested in that fight. I was browsing a niche online forum for a hobby I knew nothing about, let's say, competitive miniature painting for tabletop war games. These people were artists. And I noticed something fascinating: they weren't arguing about politics or pop culture, they were having heated, passionate debates about brush techniques, about the merits of specific paint brands. They had inside jokes, a shared language. They were a tribe. The inciting incident was a post I saw. Someone had photoshopped a silly meme, a famous general from one of these war games, but with the caption, "This isn't a spill, it's a strategic paint application." The comments were filled with, "I need this on a shirt," and "Shut up and take my money." But no one was selling it. This was their culture, and it was completely ignored by the mainstream. My first step wasn't to design 100 shirts. It was to design one. I used a simple graphic design tool to recreate that meme. Then, I set up a bare-bones store on a print-on-demand platform, connected it to a printer, and created a simple product listing. I didn't order a single shirt for myself. I just put it out into the world. Then, I went back to that forum and, following the community rules, I simply posted, "Saw the conversation, thought you guys might get a kick out of this," and linked to the product. The first order notification felt like a fluke. Then another came in. And another. The struggle wasn't getting sales. It was understanding why I was getting them. I had to become an anthropologist of a culture I wasn't part of. I spent weeks just lurking in that forum, taking notes on the slang, the inside jokes, the revered figures, the common frustrations. I learned that these hobbyists didn't want flashy, loud designs. They wanted subtle, witty, if you know, designs. The learning curve was all about empathy and authenticity. I made missteps. I posted a design I thought was clever, and the community politely but firmly told me I'd gotten a historical detail of the game's lore wrong. It was embarrassing, but it was a crucial lesson. You can't fake this. You have to listen. The turning point came about 3 months in. I hadn't spent a single dollar on ads. All my traffic was organic, from forums and word of mouth. I woke up one morning to 22 order notifications. My heart stopped. I thought it was a glitch. It wasn't. A popular content creator in that niche had done an unboxing video of his latest painted mini, and he was wearing one of my shirts. He gave it a casual, offhand compliment. "Love the shirt, by the way, from this little store." That was it. That was the reveal. I had built a brand, however small, that resonated so authentically with a specific group that it marketed itself. The win was the sheer, undeniable power of a perfectly targeted niche. That store never did viral numbers. It never had a $1 million day. But it became relentlessly, boringly consistent. It averaged between $18,000 and $25,000 in revenue per month. The profit margin was around 30% after all costs, meaning this single, niche store was netting me over $6,000 a month. The reality? I spent maybe 5 hours a week on it. Most of that time was spent engaging with the community and brainstorming new designs based on their conversations. There was no customer service, handled by the platform, no shipping, handled by the printer, no inventory. It was a true, scalable, product-based business. The lesson was the most valuable one of my entire journey. Find a group of people who are deeply passionate about something, understand their unique identity and language, and create products that celebrate that identity. Don't sell to a demographic, serve a tribe. At Profit with A, we classify this as the archetype file. It represents the ultimate evolution, a business that is not a job, but a system. It proves that the highest leverage comes not from your own labor, but from your deep understanding of a specific, human need for identity and belonging. So, there they are. 5 case files from the profit log. 5 boring businesses. File Profit 701 taught me that the market pays for necessity, not novelty. That a $29 data entry gig could shatter the illusion that making money online was impossible. File Profit 819, the laundry service, showed me that a profitable business can be built by solving a recurring, inconvenient problem literally right outside your front door. File Profit 936, the LLC formation service, proved that you can monetize clarity. That people will pay a premium for you to be the bridge between their dreams and the bureaucratic complexity standing in their way. File Profit 112, the local SEO service, revealed the power of the recurring revenue model, serving the tradespeople who build our world but are often left behind by the digital one. And finally, File Profit 255, the niche print-on-demand store, was the ultimate lesson. It showed that true scalability doesn't come from your own labor, but from your deep, empathetic understanding of a specific tribe. It's about serving, not just selling. These files, from the floor of my apartment to a self-sustaining system, all show the same underlying truth. Making real money isn't about a secret code or a viral moment. It's about consistency. It's about trial and error. It's about a willingness to start small, to do the work everyone else considers too boring, too simple, or beneath them. The notifications from these businesses, the ping of a Fiverr order, the buzz of a client's text, the cha-ching of a new online sale, they may start slowly, almost imperceptibly. But if you stay the course, if you focus on solving real problems for real people, they start to compound. And eventually, they don't just sound like notifications anymore. They start to sound like a soundtrack. The soundtrack of a life you've built for yourself, on your own terms. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't get lost in the noise of shiny object syndrome, chasing the next big thing. Look around you. What's a problem you can solve? What's a tedious task you can take off someone else's plate? What's a community you understand that isn't being served? Start where you are, with what you have. The first win, whether it's $29 or your first 5-star review, isn't just money. It's proof. Proof that the door is open. Your only job is to walk through it. If you've started your own hustle, or if one of these files sparked an idea for you, I want to hear about it. Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and your journey might be the very one that inspires someone else. It might even become a future file we open here on the channel. If you found value in walking through these case files with me, then make sure you're part of the community. Subscribe to Profit with A, and hit the notification bell. We're just getting started, and the next file we open could be the one that changes everything for you. This has been a productive one from Profit with A. Until next time, keep hustling.